for giving me an opportunity to present my solution on universal safety. I would be focusing mostly on the solution and the governance part of the scenario. So my understanding from the customer is customer provides the service for design, installation, monitoring, and the maintenance, and they are situated in US and Canada. They are around 150 office and 15 region. And the region we want to implement the solution is right now all the systems are not well integrated, and they are in need of more unified system. Now they are also working with contractor and the customer, and they want to give an access to the new system to both different type of the users. From the solution overview, I'm going with a single org, and the reason for that is I did not saw any regulatory requirement that would force me to go on the multiple orgs. Sales process and the support processes are same. Also, I did not see any implications on the governor limit, so that would be my decision. Now, also, I would go with the multi-language, and for the multi-language, we can use a translation workbench and the custom level, which are out of the box supported by Salesforce. Few of the assumptions I took. So first of all is existing IDP already in place, and it already supports SAML 2, so I'm going to reuse that one. Budget is not constrained. The current CTA application that we have is near end of the contract, and we can leverage the new CTA application like Service Cloud in our solution. Quickly going on the actor side. So 3 different type of the actors we have is system specialist, support rep, and the manager. I'm suggesting system specialist should have a sales cloud and the service cloud license both, because they are going to use and lead opportunity code, and also they are going to use the service voice with the omnichannel. Support rep, they are going to use a case and they are going to use an omnichannel. So I'm suggesting they should be having a service cloud license, and the manager is going to use sales objects like quote and opportunity. So for the manager, I'm suggesting we should be giving a sales cloud license. For the contractor, they are in need of role and advanced sharing. So I'm suggesting they should be having a customer community plus license. Primary customer care also needs to have a customer community plus license, because they should be able to manage other users. So they would need either super user access or external admin access. And secondary customer, they just need an access to community. So I'm suggesting they should be giving a community access. In terms of the system landscape, the Salesforce out of the box product that I have been used is of course Sales Cloud, Service Voice. I have also decided to use some of the App Exchange external product like geocode and mapping, DocuSign, SMS 360, and Gimbal for the barcode scanning. From the mobile perspective, I'm suggesting we should be using standard Salesforce Mobile and standard Salesforce Mobile Publisher for the community access. In terms of the system, we are going to retire the CRM system, and the CRM is going to be replaced by Salesforce. Coming to the data model. So as you can see in my data model, all are the standard object, and the few custom objects, they are mentioned by stars. So as you can see, location and the maintenance schedule, these are the only 2 custom objects that I have in my solution. So I will start with business process requirement first, and which starts with sales and the design. And the requirement is prospective should be able to contact customer by calling on the phone call or from the public website. So I'm suggesting we should be using a Service Cloud voice. I did consider Lightning Dialer, which is supported in United States and the Canada. However, for the future-proof solution, Service Cloud gives some more advanced capability compared to the Lightning Dialer, like advanced routing, conversion of audio to the text, etc. So I would suggest we should be going a Service Cloud voice. And also I'm suggesting we should be purpose lead for the prospect. So all the prospect related information would be stored in the lead. And if anyone is contacting from the public website, Salesforce out of the box does give the capability for web to lead. So we will be using web to lead. One of the consideration for web to lead is in a single day, we can have maximum 500 lead in the system. However, as per the governor limit that we have, 5,000 per month, we are very well within a governor limit. So that would be my suggestion. Going to the next requirement, the support representative should pre-qualify the lead users by asking some questionnaire, and they should be able to schedule a site visit for them. So first of all, user will click on the lead on the button saying like, okay, start questionnaire. That would launch a flow. With the help of screen flow, we would be able to collect the custom question, and those custom questions would be stored at the lead level. So my assumption is it's a very straightforward different type of the questions that we would be asking, and combination of flow and the field on the lead should take care of that. Now, if the support representative is happy and the sales rep is happy with the lead qualification, and they think that they can go ahead and they can connect with the customer, they will do the lead conversion at this moment, and they will convert leads to account, contact, and opportunity. Now the next step is they have to visit, and while they visit, they have to use their mobile phone. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be using the Salesforce mobile app. So system specialist would be using a Salesforce mobile app during the visit, and they have to take the pictures and the photos. So I would suggest standard smartphone capability. They can use mobile device feature of the picture and the video recording, and they can use the Salesforce mobile to upload all the design information and all the videos. Now, I would suggest all these information would be uploaded at the opportunity, because we already converted opportunity in advance from the lead. One assumption I took place is the videos that we are going to be uploading is not going to be more than 100 megabytes because Salesforce Mobile does not support larger video upload. So considering that, Salesforce Mobile should fulfill the requirement. Another requirement is we should be able to create preliminary estimate, and we should be able to send a copy to the customer. Now, standard Salesforce process, we can add all the devices after the visit, that what security devices that has to be added, everything can be added at the quote level, quote line level. And out of the box, we would be able to generate the quote itself. So out of the box estimation, we would be using that PDF. So user would simply go on the quote record, and they will say that, okay, send the quote as a PDF, and out of the box standard Salesforce capability, we would be able to send as an email to the user. Another requirement is we have to capture the GPS location on the location itself. So I have a custom object for the location. So one account, it is possible that they have multiple location, and each location can have go through the whole opportunity in the sales process. So we have to capture the geocode location. I did consider using a Lightning Web component. However, there is already free App Exchange product available named Geocode and the map. That App Exchange is very easy to configure and they use. So I'm suggesting we should simply use that App Exchange to capture all the location geocode information using a Salesforce Mobile. The next process is the creation of estimation should allow the customer to log into the Salesforce. Now we have a location object, which is a custom object. So we can expose this custom object to the customer when they log into the Salesforce. And on the quote, we are on the quote or either on the opportunity, we are going to have a status field on the change of the status saying the quote sent to the customer. We will use after save flow, and after save flow will identify which is a contact, and they will enable a user at the contact level. And that's how they will automatically get a welcome email from the community, welcome email to set the username and the password, and they would be able to log into the community. And that's how we will fulfill this requirement. Going to the next requirement, at the back office, after reviewing all the videos and everything, they would be designing the whole format in the external system. And the plan basically would be up to 100 megabytes in the size, and that should be available to the customer via Salesforce. Now this is a system, different system. So I would suggest the integration. So ESB or ETL would be checking that external system that, okay, the document is ready or not. If the document is ready, they will upload the design document at the location level. However, one assumption I took place here is design tool need to have some linkage ID between for which customer they are building that design. And I would suggest we should be having a location ID, so that when integration will go to that tool and it will try to extract the PDF, it would be able to directly indicate for which location they are working for. Now, another thing is I am using a location and I'm repurposing a location for the negotiation and giving an access to the customer. I did consider some another custom object like a project or something, but to make a system usable and easy to use, I'm trying to avoid a multiple custom object until it's necessary. Also, I'm not suggesting to share the whole opportunity to the customer also. And the main reason is at opportunity level, we would be having some confidential information that customer would not have, does not need to have an access. Going to the seventh requirement here, if the customers agree to the design and everything, they should be able to digitally sign the contract. So again, on the location level, customers can go, they can see all the design documents and everything in the Salesforce file. And once they agree, they change the status from the location agreed. That location status change would again cause the after save flow that would create a contract, and that will generate a DocuSign document with the pre-existing template, and they will get an email saying that document is ready for your review and the signature. Customers simply they will go through the email, they will go through all the document, and if they agree, they will digitally sign that document. Going to the next requirement, at this point, customer can provide a financial information for that location. So again, I don't think there is a need another custom object. At the location level, we can have custom field, and on those custom fields, we can have all the financial information related to the customer. And if the security needed, we can use a profile and the field level security to show and hide that field to the user who wants to have that access. Going to the next requirement, a customer should be able to log in using Facebook, Twitter, and the LinkedIn. And Salesforce out of the box does provide Auth Provider for all those systems. So using Auth Provider and Apex registration handler, we would be able to tell that we would be able to connect the Salesforce user with these social sign-on user. Again, in the community, we just have to enable Facebook, Twitter, and the LinkedIn so that from the login page, they can log in these systems. Going to the next process, which is contracting and the installation. So the source of truth for the contractors is not the Salesforce, it is coming from the external system. So for that, I would be suggesting we should be having ETL job. ETL job would be pulling all the information, new contractor information, and it will use a remote call in inside Salesforce, and it will create account and contact for all those contractors. Also, user creation would also be done the ETL job itself. So once they create account and contact, we will have a script which will create a user, which will automatically send them the welcome email from the community, and they will get a native credential email from the Salesforce, which is again all out of the box. Going to the next requirement, the system specialist can select a contractor for the customer installation. So my suggestion would be, we already have contractor information. The user can either use a list view or a global search. They can search the contractor. And once they go on the contractor, there is going to be the quick action, quick button saying that assign a work to this contractor, which will open, which would nothing but it will create a work order. So I'm again suggesting a standard work order object for the assignment of the contractor. On the work order, we will have some information like who is the customer, for which location the customer is going to be. And at the same time, we will also share a location record with the contractor. Now the contractor is a customer community plus license. So we can actually use a sharing set that, okay, share location record if the account of the work order is matching. So they will get an access to the location and they can go ahead and they preview all the design and the document that have been updated at the location level. Another requirement is an approval process. Again, out of the box, standard Salesforce approval process is available at the location. So contractor can simply go ahead and they will say they agree with the design or not, and they can simply accept that document is ready or not. So the next requirement is once the design is acceptable to the contractor, contractor indicates acceptance in the Salesforce. So we would be having some field at the location level saying that acceptance by contractor, yes or no, something like that. Once the contractor accepts that record at the location level, again, after save flow will again create a contract, this time another type of the contract. And the contractors will get an email from the DocuSign saying that, okay, digital signature is waiting for your approval, and they will go ahead, they will sign, reject the DocuSign. DocuSign does have a capability. If the contractor accepts, DocuSign can come back and it can update the status of the contractor. So the next requirement here is if the contractor accepts the signature, they can do the final review, etc. So on successful DocuSign signature, we will change the status of work order and saying that work order has been accepted by the contractor, and we will also use after save flow on the work order to send the chatter notification to the specialist. So that's how the specialist would know that, okay, work order that was assigned to the contractor, they agreed or not agreed, or they have accepted using the DocuSign. So all these processes can be automated without any manual intervention. The next one is once the work order is accepted, it's time that contractor would order the security devices and everything from the UST. In that case, they will go ahead, they will manually create an order. We can have a quick action at the work order level saying that order the items. They will click there, order record would get created, and then all the products that they want to order, they can add all the product at the order line item level. Once they are done, they will go ahead, they will change the status of the order saying order it, and that will cause a platform bench to go to the ESB, and ESB would read all the order or the order line item information. It will send it to the SAP and the ERP for the order fulfillment process. Going to the next call, the ERP system should update the order status in Salesforce through the point of arrival. Again, here is the integration need. I'm assuming that the SAP can make a remote call into the ESB. Once the ESB see that, okay, order has been updated, ESB can come to the Salesforce and ESB can change the order status here. Now, once the order arrives at the customer location, we need to notify by SMS and the email. So again, order is going to have a status field. We will be having after save flow on an order. And using after save flow on an order, we can send an SMS and we can send an email here. Now, I did consider to send an SMS. I considered to have a digital experience, but it's a very heavy use case. It's just a one-way SMS that we want to use, and there is a very good app exchange product, customer SMS 360, that can be easily configured, very lightweight. So I would suggest we should be using a SMS 360 instead of digital engagement here. The next requirement here is all the devices that have been installed by external system that should be shown inside Salesforce. So again, here we are going to have an integration, and that integration on the order, whenever contractor is going to install all those devices, that integration would come back and it will create an asset. And the total number of volume on the asset as per my calculation are going to be 15 millions. Now, once the installation is final, Salesforce is going to be updated by the system specialist, and they want to do it so that invoice can be created. So again, work order is going to have a multiple statuses. One status is going to be the installation is completed, and that would cause integration to take place, and that information would be sent to ERP. Going to the next process, which is a scheduled maintenance. So for the scheduled maintenance, each location might have 1 or 2 location per year, schedule per year. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be using another custom object, saying maintenance schedule, and here we can have information like how many times in a year they need a schedule, like once in a 6 month or once in a year. That kind of the information would be available here. Next, when schedule maintenance is 1 week away, we need to create a service order in external system. So for that, I would suggest nightly scheduler would run, and that batch apex, which is a batch apex, would go through all the maintenance schedule and try to see, do we need to create any work order, which is a 1 week behind. And if that, we will go ahead, we will automatically create a work order. And once the work order is created, we can again have a platform event going through the work order, and this work order would get created as a service order inside ESB, inside ETL via ESB. Going to the next one, once the schedule maintenance is complete, the system specialist updates Salesforce. So from the mobile device, a specialist can go ahead and they can mark work order as completed. Now they want to update ERP in the real time. So I would suggest we would be having a quick action at the work order level, saying that mark work order installation as completed, which will open the flow. That flow, with the help of enhanced external services, would make a real-time API call to the ERP system, and it will update the ERP system on the real time, and it will also update the work order. The reason I'm going with enhanced external services is a declarative point and click. We don't need to write any code or anything, and only thing we need to do is expose service as an open API, and I'm assuming is we can do the transformation and expose the open API for us. Going to the last is monitoring and issue management. So for the requirement number 1, I'm suggesting we should be modeling case as an issue, and integration is going to make a remote call into the Salesforce if there is any issue or any event that has been observed by any of the devices that has been installed. Once the issue is created, we want to create a task so that a case owner can go ahead and they can call a customer. So again, that can be automated. On the case creation, we can have after save flow to automatically create a task. So this process can be automated. The next requirement is customer contact can access a mobile and they can create a case. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be using a mobile publisher. To call in, they can use, we are using a service voice anyways, and we can also leverage a web to case to create a case directly. Another one is they need a capability to scan the barcode from the mobile, and after the barcode scanning, they should be able to create a case against the device. Now there is a very good app exchange product available, which is a gimbal. So gimbal out of the box gives us capability to the barcode scanning, and as a result, we can do a lot of action, like we can call the flow or we can redirect it to them. So I would suggest user would scan the barcode using the mobile publisher using gimbal barcode, and it will search the asset which has that barcode, and it will redirect user to an asset. So once user go an asset, they can click on the button saying create a case, and from asset they would be able to create a case. So as we have only 4 or 5 months to release this, I would not like to do any programming or anything. So app exchange is the best way to go ahead. Another requirement is the case should be assigned on the basis of availability and the scale. Again, Salesforce Service Cloud Omnichannel has out-of-the-box skill-based routing, so I would be using that here. Also, if the maintenance or work order is needed, the user should be able to create a maintenance work. So we already have a process of work order creation and integration with the ERP. We can use the whole process, reuse all the process as it is here as well. Now, issue created. So issue created by the support representative. Representative can create issue records manually, as we already talked about. So we have all out of the, so till this point, we have used most of the out of the box solution configuration app exchange product. And I'm very confident that this solution is going to make system maintainable, performant, and scalable. Also coming to the large data volume, my calculation says as it is a 15 million work order, 3 million, 6 million. That's not a huge data volume. However, to keep the performance in the check, I would say that we should be having a frequent archiving and the purging of the data. Now, quickly going on the governance side here. So the solution needs to be in both English and the French language. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be using a translation workbench and the custom label. Now they have a geographically separate IT team and 3 monitoring system. They have 3 different teams. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be using first of all hybrid project methodology, which gives us the best of the both world between Waterfall and Agile. I would suggest all the integration changes, everything would be done in the Waterfall. Blueprint and the designing of the Salesforce should also be done in the Waterfall. However, the Salesforce implementation itself should be done in the Agile methodology. One important thing is I have identified few of the risks. So for an example, the ERP in the monitoring system does have an API, but they have never used it. So I see that as a risk. We don't know if that API is ever going to work or not. So I would suggest we should be set up a prior work stream and we should test and validate if those API would work or not, and early identify if we need to enhance any of the API. Another problem is they have only one QA environment from the external system. So here I would be suggesting we should be leveraging ESB for the mock API and the response. Another risk I see is it's a new application, so it is pretty much possible about the low adoption rate and the users' resistance from accepting this new system. I would suggest we should be setting up some governance team, center of governance, and include a change management team there, which would be basically responsible to create content, the communication. If possible, we can also leverage in-app guidance. So once they log into the Salesforce, we will have a very nice UI for them, which will guide them the, what process next they have to do. We can also have a My Trailhead here. Going to the governance model, as we are speaking about, I would suggest we should be having a steering committee and the sponsors, and they would be responsible for sponsoring the whole program. At the same time, vision and the value that we are going to get from this product. And if there is any conflict or anything comes back, we would be having a change from the leadership itself. Then I would be suggesting we should be having a center of excellence lead, which would be responsible to make sure there is a collaboration and the communication happening, the IT team and the business team. So from the business side, I would suggest we should include change control board, who would be responsible in making sure there is no scope creep, because I'm very sure once we start developing the project, the requirement would come from all the directions. So this team is going to be the responsible to make sure we are only taking the requirement which is for the MVP. Change control management and learning, as we discussed, it is for the training purpose. We should be having a product owner who would be responsible for the backlog and everything. I would also suggest to include SME so that they will feel that they own the solution and adoption would be high. Going to the technical side, I'm suggesting we should be having architect review board. They would be responsible for coding guidelines and the standard. I would be also suggesting we have some architect like technical integration in QA. I would also suggest we should be having a release manager who would be responsible for setting up the DevOps pipeline and the branching strategy. Quickly coming from here, the third requirement is the IT team have access to only one development. I already raised this as a risk, and the mitigation here is we should be able to leverage ESB and to mock a response for the testing purpose. Next one is the sales management would like to simultaneously release the complete solution in 4 months. Again, this is definitely a risk, and that is the reason I am suggesting we should be using hybrid methodology, where in the first initially itself when the project is starting, blueprint and the designing would be done in the Waterfall. We have to make sure that we have a very clear roadmap and very clear definition of MVP and what is the definition of the product. And we have to make sure we are adhering to timeline and we are resolving to the risk as it arises as a part of this governance team. The last requirement is they want my recommendation on project priorities. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be having change control board, and we should also having a tool like application lifecycle management tool, which would include the traceability matrix, etc. For the technical design, ARB should be installed. We discussed they would be responsible coding guidelines and the standard. We should be having a Sonar Cube to make sure we are adhering to the best practices that have been set up by ARB. For the team management, we have the whole governance structure, and in the governance structure here, we are going to have multiple work streams. So work stream for integration, work stream for mobile publisher, work stream for mobile, etc. And the center of excellence, this whole governance team is making sure that if any collaboration, guidance, or any risk analysis has to be done, they would be able to help them. For any organizational issue, we already have a steering committee, which is going to be the leadership from the business and IT both world. So that would be able to resolve issue. Last part I would like to cover is the environment strategy itself. So going through the sandboxes, first of all, this is a single org. So all the development and everything would be done in the sandbox, which is a type of the developer sandbox. And once the development is done, users would go ahead and they will commit all the code in their feature branches, and they will create a pull request against the CI branch. Now, I would suggest we should be having tool like Copado, who would be listening to all these branches, and they would be installing that code to the dev integration branch. Now in the dev integration branch, it will install in the dev integration sandbox, which is a type of the dev pro. And here the technical lead, everybody will review the code. Everybody would make sure they are not overwriting any code and everything is working fine. And then code would move to the QA, staging, and the production. I would suggest two more sandboxes. So if there is any immediate issue happening in the production, I would suggest we should be having a hotfix sandbox. And for the training purpose, I'm suggesting another sandbox, which is a partial. Now, the reason I'm suggesting partial for the training is we would get 5 gigabytes of the storage, which is nothing but the 2.5 millions of the record, which would be enough for the training. We don't need much record for the QA and the dev integration. That is the reason I'm suggesting Dev Pro, which has around 1 GB capacity, which is a 500,000 of the record. Dev Pro, we don't need much data in the D sandboxes. That is the reason. The reason I'm suggesting is the full copy sandbox. Here we would be doing performance testing. So that is the reason I'm suggesting type of the sandbox here is a full. I am also suggesting to enable the dev hub in the production. There might be some scenario where we have to do this quick POC or try to see how the things are going to work. So instead of working on the sandbox, we can certainly leverage the Scratchorgs as well for the quick POC, and then decommission those Scratchorg. In terms of the branching strategy, these are all the branches are going to be siblings to the sandboxes. So any changes on these branch would cause deployment to go to these sandboxes. Now we definitely need to have a gatekeeper. We don't want anybody to go and just go ahead and change the sandboxes. So we have a different type of actors. So developers would be responsible to create a feature branch. Technical lead is going to be the responsible to approve the PR for continuous integration and make sure the code quality is good. And then the release manager would also approve CI so that the code can propagate to the QA. Now from QA onwards, all the pull requests must be approved by the release management. So they are the proper gatekeeper, and we are not installing any unauthorized code on any of the sandboxes. Finally, going to the testing methodology. So in the developer sandbox, we are using for the build purpose, proof of concept purpose, we would be doing unit testing using Apex. I am expecting 1 or 2 Lightning Web component also here. So for that, I'm suggesting we should be using Jest for the testing of the Lightning Web component. Now in the dev integration, here also Apex unit testing would be done, code would be merged, and code quality would be checked by the technical lead, making sure whatever the rule we have written in the Sonar Cube, all the rules are properly followed. And here also we will be doing automatic testing. Next branch in the QA, next sandbox in the QA, we would be doing unit testing, we would be doing automatic testing, functional testing, system integration testing. I would also suggest. So this is the sandbox where end-to-end integration between all the systems will be done. I would suggest we should be doing regression testing here, and also the accessibility testing, like which profile is able to access which record, which field, etc. Going to the staging, here also we'll be doing similar testing like unit testing, automated testing, regression testing, and the UAT by the product owner, making sure they are getting what they wanted to be implemented. And in the UAT also, I would be suggesting we should be doing some form of performance testing, like the load testing, that how the system is going to behave in the actual data volume and actual user load. In the production, I'm suggesting we should be doing smoke testing and the unit testing. Now, I have 1 minute left. I would quickly like to go ahead and talk about reporting requirement as well. So first requirement, it's a pretty straightforward. We can have a standard report on opportunity and the standard report on maintenance schedule to see information about the sales activities, etc. For the event related information, devices, events are stored as a case, and we have different record type. Again, we can run standard report on that one. And of course, the case OWD is going to be the private. Therefore, we will only see the event of my customer where I have an access. Now, the third requirement is talking about ad hoc trending data from the customer multiple objects. So here I'm suggesting we should be using Tableau CRM because there is a lot of limitation in the trending report inside Salesforce. For the fourth requirement, I would suggest we should be having list view on the case. And the fifth requirement is going to be the integration. So external website is going to make an API call, and they will count total number of cases and total number of work order to show on the public. So I will conclude my solution in the presentation. I hope I would be able to make this project successful. I'm really looking forward for any Q&A if you have for me.
Perfect timing.
Very good.
Can you just talk me about, do you have a 4 months of delivery in which you are actually doing the blueprinting as well as the agile delivery plus testing, and you have a too many app exchange product in the solution? So how everything will come together? What is the plan from project timeline point of view?
Sure. Yeah. So the first important plan is we have to set up the governance. We have to have a clear roles and the responsibilities that who is going to do what. And we have only 4 months of time. So I would say within a 2-week or 3-week, we need to make sure we have a clear roadmap and MVP plan that needs to be implemented. And we have to have our initial architectural design in place. And we need to make sure that only 4 months of plan are there. So we have a different parallel work stream that we can spun up. So one is going to be integration team. So I'm suggesting in terms of the project methodology, integration team would be working completely in a waterfall model. So they will have their contract upfront and they will implement and they will make sure that we all align on the timing. Like after 2 months or 3 months, they have to deliver the product. And then we need inside Salesforce itself, for the mobile publisher, we need to have a parallel work stream. For the development, we have to parallel work stream, and everybody needs to follow the timeline that we are going to decide in our first month. So we are going to have around 3 months remaining, and development should be done in the 2 months. So that would be my initial plan, assuming that we have complete MVP and the product backlog definition.
What about CI/CD setup when you're planning to do?
Yes. So I'm assuming that we have all the skills needed for CI/CD setup, and that is the another reason I'm going with the Copado. So I'm not going with anything to build up. Copado can be set up in 1 or 2 weeks. And we have a dedicated release manager. So release manager is going to make sure they have all the branching strategy. The Copado team is going to make sure that they have all the pipeline in place. So release management should be ready even before the development can start. So there is going to be another parallel work stream for them.
And do you foresee any risk of multiple app exchange product, including procurement to be, and also installations and development to be completed in 4 months?
Definitely, that's a huge risk, and that is the reason I have assumed that at least the budget is not going to be constrained, and the COE Center of Excellence lead, they would be responsible for the procurement, and we would raise it as a risk, and we should have this procurement initially. And the main reason that why I'm going for all these app exchange product is they are very easy to set up compared to something we have to build from the ground up.
Yeah. Next.
I just like to ask a check reality over here. Have you delivered or seen anyone deliver a project with this scope and complexity in 4 months?
No, not really, definitely. And that is the reason we have to have MVP in play. I would not suggest going big bang. I would suggest initially we should be doing the only data migration, sales processes and everything, and deliver in one region. Do not go big bang on all the regions. So we have like 15 region. We should pilot 1 or 2 region, learn from the lessons, and then we'll go ahead from there.
Thank you.
Okay. I can follow up on this. So you suggest to do the data migration and MVP. So in terms of data migration and governance, who is responsible for data migration on your governance?
Yeah, so we are going to have a dedicated data migration team. However, I missed one very important role is the data stewardship. So during the data migration, definitely we need to know what is the enterprise data dictionary, what is going to be the format of the data, what is the dedupe rule, etc. So we need that dedicated team of the data stewardship who would be helping us. And then we need to have another data custodian team who would be responsible to write all the ETL script and everything. And again, that needs to be another parallel work stream that needs to work, and they need to follow proper guidelines, proper timelines.
Okay. And in terms of files that you need to migrate, you have a huge volume of files. So help me understand, where do you plan to test this file migration and data migration?
Sure. So the total number of licenses we have is around 1,500 users, and they would be having like. So I need to do the calculation basically. Assuming that it is going to be Salesforce file is going to be enough, and we will archive the old file in the data lake. To migrate the data for the file, again, we can still use an ETL tool. We can use actually file has to be migrated in the content version first, then which will create a content document. And if we want to link file to all the related records, we have to migrate those. We have to create a record for the document link, content document link.
But in terms of testing, how do you test if the file migration, data migration was successful?
There are two ways. There is going to be the two-step process. So when the file is going to be migrated, we will get the error log saying that HTTP request, etc., fail or not. So technically, it's a success or not. And then second, we definitely need a team in the testing who can do some high-level testing and making sure that the file are properly linked to the record. They will randomly go like see 30-40 records, and also we can have some kind of the reconciliation reports, which will say that how many file is success and how many file linkage is done. So those some of the steps we have to take.
Last question: on which environment you will do the file and data upload migration?
I will do that. So I have mentioned here in the full copy. Okay, I missed part here actually. In the full copy sandbox, I need to do the data load. Data migration would be happening in the full copy sandbox. Now here also I do see the risk because we have only one full copy sandbox, and here we would be doing performance testing, data load testing in the UAT, assuming we have a proper timeline and everything planned. Otherwise, I would recommend we should purchase another full copy sandbox, which is very costly. But for 1 quarter, we should have another full copy sandbox just for the data migration testing.
Okay, thank you.
Whilst you are there, you mentioned Scratchorgs and developer sandboxes. So which one is your final decision to use for the developer workflow?
I would always go with the developer sandbox. The only time when I would be using a Scratchorg is to do some quick POC. So for an example, we have so many App Exchange product here. For example, how the gimbal is going to work, how the gimbal is going to redirect to the asset. So just quickly check all those things, just quickly proof of concept. I would use a Scratchorg. Otherwise, my main development environment is going to be Dev Sandbox.
And your justification for this decision?
And the justification for is the Scratchorg, when we create a sandbox, it's mostly the copy of the production, and the advantage of the Scratchorg is it's a vanilla org, and we can get any branches. We deploy any branches in the Scratchorg very lightweight, and we no need to worry about deleting that org after 7 days or 30 days, whatever the configuration we have. That Scratchorg automatically gets deleted. Another advantage, sorry, I missed, is Scratchorg supports push and pull command. So from the developer point of view, it's a very easy to write a code in Scratchorg, extract that code, put it in the branch. So that will save a lot of time as well.
So you mentioned the Scratchorgs resemble productions?
No, Scratchorg is a vanilla. So when Scratchorg gets created, it has nothing from the production. It's a plain sandbox, plain org.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in your workflow, what would then be used in the Scratchorg? How do you set up the environment?
Yeah, so Scratchorg would be only for the quick POCs. If we don't need to do quick POC sandbox, then only we will do. And to create a Scratchorg, developers we have a free licenses in the Salesforce for the Scratchorg developer that only can be used for creation of the Scratchorg with the help of JWT flow. So we have to set up the JWT in the users, all the developer system. And in fact, we can also take a help of Copado. Copado is capable to create a Scratchorgs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Sarjit, I have a question. You said when you on the governance that you'll be using a Waterfall for blueprint and design. So are you going to do the design 100% before you start the development?
Yeah, that would not be possible. So I'm expecting 70 to 80% of the design high level. And when we go through I'm suggesting safe agile. So we would be going PI, we would be only to do one PI. So during the sprint, before the sprint, we would be able to finalize all the design details and everything. And if we find that the initial design that we thought and the design that we are building in a sprint is kind of the creep, that is where we will take a help of a change control board and talk about the risk and the mitigations.
So how would you get early feedback from the product owners?
Yeah, so that is the reason to get the REAP of Salesforce Rapid Application Development, we have to do frequent show and tell and frequent demo. So every time when the developer is going to build something, I would really not wait for the QA and the UAT, because sometimes it happens that what customer is expecting was not in the UAT. So we will do frequent demo. Once the feature is done, when the user story is done, quickly do the demo to the product owner, get the feedback, and do that cycle as an agile.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Varuna?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so the question on the Apex Cinch, Jitendra, okay, you have too many Apex Cinch, okay, and the learning curve for the team is going to be very, very high on that one. So how we are going to mitigate that one?
So yeah, I have around definitely service voice is also there. So there's so many app exchange product is there. So we would train a team on this. So initially we will decide that which work stream who is going to work. So for example, there is a one work stream responsible for the DocuSign and the Gimbal. We will train that team early itself. We don't need to train everyone in every app exchange product. Just take the advantage of the parallel work stream and train them only on those app exchange that we have to set up. And another advantage of the App Exchange product is Salesforce partners are very helpful. They would be very helpful for training, guidance, and how to set it up. So we can take that advantage as well.
Yeah. Can you talk about your email strategy in context of translations?
Email strategy in context of?
Translations.
Yeah. So as we have multi-language, we have only English and the French. So I would suggest for each email, we would be creating always two different email templates, and on the basis of language field, we will be sending an email. I did consider Visualforce page based email, but the maintenance is issue. We are only talking about the two languages. So only if an else in the flow or flow is not a problem. So I will have two email template for each language.
Can you talk about how we are going to onboard the external users as part of this particular project, and what will we consider as a part of the change control?
So for the external user, change management and learning team, so CML team is going to create a plan, and they will start early communication to the external user as well. Like I said, it is really a big risk to go the big bang in the 4 months. So we will pick up the region. So out of the 15 region, let's assume that we are going live for the 2 region only. So we will pick up all the user. We will start communicating to those users, saying that they should expect the new email for the new user creation and everything. And once the data migration and everything is done, change management team would also be the responsible to create a video tutorials and everything. And we can have webinars also for the external user. We will send a webinar link, live webinar, and we should repeat that webinar multiple times so that external users get comfortable. And technically how that needs to be done, that can be easily handled using ETL tool in the data migration step. But I would be more focusing on the adoption for the external user in the communication.
How that communication will be sent upfront, which tooling that you prefer to use?
Yeah, so definitely we would not be able to use a Salesforce because we are talking about thousands of the customers. So I'm assuming we already have some tool in place, but let's assume we don't have, then we can leverage a marketing cloud as well.
Next.
Okay, I like to ask some questions on the data model if you go to that slide. So once a product is installed, is it still represented in this data model?
Sorry, come back again, Charlie. What is the question?
Once a product is purchased and installed, is it still represented here by anything?
Yeah. So once the product is installed, that is stored as an asset. That would be stored as a device. Yeah, and that's a large volume, 15 million.
Okay, got you. Now, if a installer goes to get assigned a work order, how would that installer get access to the asset as well as the location?
Sure. So so what we can do is we have multiple options because our installer are Customer Community Plus. We have advanced sharing capability here. At asset level, I will populate the lookup of the installer, that which installer is responsible for that asset, and using a sharing set, I can share that asset with the installer, assuming only one installer is working for that asset.
Okay, how about location?
Sorry, Charlie, you asked another question?
How about the location? How can the installer get access to the location?
Yeah. On the location also, I'm going to have a lookup field on the installer account, and I will update that installer at the location level. So using sharing set, I would share location and asset both with the installer.
Okay. I will ask a stretch question later.
Okay.
I just want to ask one question because we are on the same topic. Here, I guess your assumption is that the contractor working on a project which is at that particular location, okay, and there is only one project running at that location. What if there are multiple projects running on a particular location, and for each project we have a different contractor assigned? What will be changed in your solution?
Yeah. So if that my assumption is wrong, and what you're saying, if I have to follow that one, I definitely cannot use a location because I might reveal some confidential data to the installers. I would introduce another project object, another project custom object, which is going to be the child of the location and the parent of the opportunity. And I will share the project rather than the location to the installers. Now here I am also taking an assumption that one installer would be working at the one project at a time, but for the one location can have a multiple project. So I will have another custom object here.
Yeah, thank you. Caesar?
Yes. Jitendra, I'd like to ask you about the sales and design business section, number 3. The support representative pre-qualifies a prospective customer in Salesforce using a questionnaire, and then the support representative schedules a site visit for a system specialist. So help me understand your solution on that and how the support representative can schedule a visit for another internal user with a client based on availability, their calendar, and so on.
Sure. So Salesforce out of the box has a concept of the shared calendar. So internal user can share their calendar with everyone. And if there is any event available for that customer, internal user would be able to see. So using standard, this support representative would be able to search for the support rep is going to be able to search for the system specialist calendar and see if they are available. If they are not available, they're in the same org, they can use the chatter communication as well. So with the combination of shared calendar and assuming they will have manual conversation, they can simply go ahead and create an event against that lead. I'm assuming
you have 3,000 system specialists. So how do you know to which to assign it? How do you know what is their location and so on?
What I will do is at the user, so we have we have around 150 office and we have 15 region, and as per the user, the sales specialist works at the office level. So using the role, I would be easily able to identify that for which location which system specialist is available, so we would not have that problem of the 3,000. Again, if I have to go to the granular level, I can have some field at the location, the user level, like multi-pick list, saying that this user supports which region. I can simply run a report, and from the report, I would be able to see that who is servicing that location, that customer, as there would be only, I'm assuming, 6 to 7 reps. So I don't think there would be any issue to following up with 6 to 7 users to go the visit. So I will stick to the report solution.
And can you think about any Salesforce solution that would support this requirement?
Definitely, we can use a lightning scheduler, but again, we have only 4 months of period and there is no advanced scheduling mechanism available. So I would rather wait for the lightning scheduler, wait for the feedback from the first phase. And if this problem becomes big and we want advanced scheduling, certainly we can think about lightning scheduler in the phase 2.
Okay, thank you. Martin?
Which edition do you choose?
I have chosen unlimited edition, and the reason for that is I am in a need of full copy sandbox. So unlimited edition comes with a free full copy sandbox.
Is this the only reason we chose?
One reason, another reason is unlimited edition gives some more API limit, some more storage, some more file storage. So that is the reason I'm going with unlimited edition.
Would it be justifiable as opposed to purchase a separate full sandbox and get the enterprise edition only?
Yeah, as per my experience, enterprise edition plus full copy sandbox is very costly. It's around 500,000. So eventually the price would come near to the unlimited edition itself. Not much advantage we will get. So that is the reason I would say go with unlimited edition and get the advantage of some extra API limits and extra storage and the file storage.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
It's your turn.
Sorry. Can you talk about your mobile testing strategy, Jitendra, and what are the risks that associated with your mobile strategy?
So my mobile, I have two mobile applications, Salesforce Mobile application and Salesforce Mobile Publisher. I don't see much risk in the Salesforce Mobile itself, but I do see risk for the mobile publisher because we have to have our developer account, we have to contact the Salesforce, we have to upload our branding information, etc. That might cause project delivery delay. So for that, I would suggest we should again set up a dedicated team for the branding information and only working on the mobile publisher. And second, in terms of the testing, we certainly need to make sure that whatever we are implementing, any custom solution, anything is supported on the mobile publisher. So there are tools available in the market like emulators for Android, emulators for iPhone. So we need to use those emulator in the QA and make sure that mobile publisher is working as expected as a part of QA testing.
Chit, under monitoring and issue management, to say your solution is to use skill-based omni-channel. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me go. So yes, that is right.
Can you explain how do you set up skill-based omni-channel routing?
Sure. So there are a couple of objects that are missing here. So to set up the skill-based omni-channel, first I have to create a service resource ligated to the user. Then I have to have a service territory, and then I have to let me think. I have to create a service resource. I have to assign the skill to the service resources. I have to have those two objects, and then I have to use the skill assignment wizard that on the basis of what field on the case, what skill needs to be assigned. Salesforce out of the box automatically assigns the skill, pending service routing, etc., whatever is needed in the background, and then that work is dispatched to the user on the basis of their availability and the skill.
Thanks.
Just follow-up question on that, but you wouldn't use field service lightning and lightning scheduler either. So are you talking about these objects as a standard objects or custom object?
Yeah. So Salesforce Service Cloud skill-based routing supports service resources of type agent and the service resource skill. So these two objects are standard objects that is supported in the Service Cloud. I would not be able to use other object.
Did you mention service territory? Do you need to use that?
No, we don't need that one. My bad. I just use it. We don't need that. We need a service resource. We need a skill, and we need a service resource skill.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Andrew, question from my side. You have on the sales and design, first requirement talks about the current process, which is that calls would be redirected to the support centers and they will be answered by the support agents. So we have 3 support centers that currently have the omni-channel solution that you propose. As I understand your solution, you propose to now migrate those support centers, 3 centers, into Salesforce and provide them the Service Cloud voice capability. Can you please help me understand how do you plan to train the support resources? And what is your approach for the migration? Because they need to be available 24/7 for the emergency cases.
Sure, yeah. So while I was reading this, I was not aware that project needs to be delivered just in 4 months. So this is extremely high risk. So I would really like to change my solution. I will not go with the Service Cloud in the first phase. I will go with the Service Cloud maybe later, with the assumption that whatever the CTI right now they support Open CTI. So I will not be replacing their current CTI. I will go with the Open CTI, assuming that they have an App Exchange product that I can leverage. So there is no integration or anything change needed from their CTI side. There, whatever the number they currently have, whatever the routing mechanism they have in the IVR, that would work as it is. In terms of the training itself, again, we have a change management and the learning team dedicated for the internal user and external user. We should be able to set up in-app guidance. We should be able to use the gamification of the My Trailhead. And we should be having a frequent training, video training, and we should involve some of the SMEs upfront so that they will feel that we are hearing to their voice and we are hearing to their feedback. Coming to your second question about 24x7. So as it's a single hour, only thing we have to do is once the business hour of the current service representative who is the owner is done, we need to have a scheduled batch apex or something which will see all the cases on the cases type. If the case is not resolved, assign that case to someone else so that we are giving a 24x7 support to the customer if needed. So that would be my solution.
Okay, can you think about any Salesforce feature that can give the service representative supervisor ability to support service reps in terms if they will have issues with the new solution?
Definitely. So as we are already using a service cloud, we already have a omnichannel. There is a Omnichannel Supervisor. So there is a dashboard for the supervisor that they can watch and they can see the current status of their IT CTI system that can be leveraged.
Okay, thank you.
What if the existing system, okay, the CTI, it doesn't have a CTI, open CTI adapter or open CTI connectivity? What will be your solution in that case?
If they don't have open CTI adapter and they does not support, let's say, open CTI, then unfortunately I don't have any option but to replace that system.
With
I will go with the service cloud.
Okay, can you just talk about on the go live date, okay, how that switching will happen from old to the new system?
Yes. So we for some time the old CTI and the new CTI system would stay live at the same time. On the public websites, wherever we have the number, we need to make sure that we are communicating to the public website developer that after this date, do not show this number and show the new CTI number that we are going to leverage. So those are some of the handshake is going to happen in terms of the communication. And on the old CTI, we have to have the plan that which number to deactivate or which routing rules to be deactivate. And in the service cloud, which number to activate. And we can use the concept of call center. So at the call center, we can assign the agent that which agent will be supporting the service cloud. So on the go live date, we will only enable those call center agent who would start working on the new system, not someone who is already on the old system. So those kind of the cut over plan and the production plan we have to build.
So you are changing the phone numbers.
Huh?
So you are changing the phone numbers.
That is my assumptions. Yes, we are changing the phone number. Yes, and I'm assuming that phone number is per region basis.
But you stated that you don't want to go with big bang approach. So you want to go now with big bang approach and switch the CTI systems on the go live?
Sorry, come back again, Cesari. What is the question?
In your governance section, you stated that you don't want to go with the big bang approach, but rather with MVP and then with a gradual approach. So now you want to switch. You want to switch the CTI system on the day one. You want to run in parallel anytime.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm not suggesting to switch the whole CTI on the day one itself. I'm suggesting we would keep the old CTI system as well. And we will switch by the region. So the old CTI will know that if the call is coming from the region 1, which agent to redirect. We will disable that workflow in the old CTI, and we will enable the new workflow in the Salesforce. And we will start onboarding the service agent in the new system slowly, who is going to support. So it would not be the big bang even for the CTI.
With the Service Cloud Voice, how do you make sure a French caller's call get picked up by a French-speaking agent?
So in the CTI, if the French caller is calling, I'm assuming that we are going to provide with information, and we have a contact flow in the service voice where we can decide the skill. So on the basis of incoming number and the skill, we would be able to make sure that which language we have to assign.
Thanks.
Can you please help me understanding what are your deliverables as part of a blueprint?
What is my deliverable as a part of?
Blueprint.
As a deliverable, as a part of the blueprint is going to be the technical design document, high-level design document. Then I would also suggest that would include all the frameworks that I'm going to use, like trigger frameworks, etc. And parallelly, architect review board would be working on the coding standards and everything. So as a part of the blueprint, I will have the API integration contract and the high-level architectural design.
Time over.
And
Time is over.
okay.